What's going on, guys? Just back in the booth tonight. Gonna do another video, do a little painting. What we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna do a little bit of armor painting. It's a technique that's been around for a while. We're actually gonna paint this lure right here. And I call this Metal Madness Grabber Orange with modified 12mm eyes. I already started, did my base coat. Started out with an Autoborn Sealer Gray, or Silver, And then I put 2 coats of base median Auto Airs aluminum. I like the aluminum. It gives off a really good shine after I put a candy over it. I really like it. Very smooth painting. I've also modified the eyes. I've taken, this is actually a Spro bait that usually has the little small eyes. And I actually put this lure in my drill press and I used a Forstner bit, a 12mm, so that I could use a 12mm eye to kind of give it a different effect. I've already pre-cut my tape, and I can do a video on how to cut it out later if you'd like. So what I've done, I've already got them here in order. The way I do this bait is I just start layering tape. And it's no different than the crawl stencil I did. Crawl movie, excuse me. I save these same templates. I don't throw them away. I can use them multiple times. Just got to make sure they stick. And you can make all kind of different designs with them. You can actually lay them over like I'm doing here. And I'm only going to do 4 or 5 just to get it going. See, it's not hard to do. And I'll take a bigger one. And I'll put it over the middle. This is a really fun one to paint. And there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can actually, especially I'm talking about when you actually do your rivets. The key to this is where I started, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When I go to shadow around each one of these tape squares, I go in reverse. So now I'm going to start here. When I start painting, I'm actually going to use some golden carbon black. Sprays through my gun really well. It's already pre-mixed. I don't have to add a lot of reducer to this. You're going to want a razor blade. And I keep a razor blade here. I do this on low pressure. I think I have it on just a little over 10. That's it. Doesn't take a lot of pressure to do this. Doesn't take a lot of pressure at all. I'm shooting this out of my PS 771 with a 0.18 nozzle. And like I said, you lay your tape in and then you just go in reverse. And just stay on your tape. let the overspray go over to it. And I will do a little bit of the next one over. Okay. And what I'll do, let that dry just for a second. I may hit it with some air. Go ahead and start this one. Let it dry, and you just start taking your tape off. And what you can do is, what I do is, I just set it right here on my table on the edge, back in the same order. So when I go to do the other side, I can just pull it off in the same order and put it on so it will match. So I'll take this razor blade and I'll pick it up and I'll take this off. And I'm going to highlight this one right here. So I took that tape off. Let it dry. Drying it with the air of my airbrush. Take the razor blade, just pick it up just a little bit where I can get my hand on it. I'll just take it off. Let me make that a little bit darker. Okay. And you can see you're already starting to get your panels. And like I said, I'm taking them off in reverse. Just shadowing it down. You just got to play with it. Just have some fun with it. I'm going to shadow that. Close that off. It's not a hard design to do. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Just takes practice. You can see your panels starting to come together. I'll go ahead and take this one. Shadow it lightly. Just enough to get that line on there. I'll actually go over this one, and it'll make it look like it's kind of tucking up under the next one. And a little tip, if you do have tape laying over on tape, when you go to take it off, use that where you're not laying it up against the paint, and that usually helps. It keeps it from picking the paint back up. And you can see where your panels are actually starting to come together. Get a little bit of tip dry. Like I said, you just got to play with it. It's a cool technique. And like I said, don't forget, if you have tape over tape, take it off on the tape, because like I said, then you're not just running your razor blade onto your straight paint. Okay. And we got the last one. All you're doing is just trying to stay on the tape, let your overspray hit it. Let your overspray do the work. Okay. I got one little piece that I think I can get up under without messing up my tape. I gotta hit that just a little bit more. Pick that up. And we'll go ahead and take it off. And your first set of panels is done. I'm gonna let that dry just for a second. I'm gonna grab something real quick. I needed a toothpick that I didn't set out. Now this part, the next part can be a little tricky until you get really good with your airbrush. Because all you're doing is taking it and just putting some dots on it. And that's all I'm going to do here. You're just putting dots for your rivets. And it just takes a little bit of practice. I used to practice on napkins until I got pretty good at it. It's all about just learning control of your airbrush, and you know, this will take your game up a little bit. Like I said, it's a fun one to paint because it'll take you out of your comfort zone. And like I said, just practice it. And you'll be doing it in no time. It's really not hard. It'll and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. This is a fun little project to do. It really is. Like I said, it's not difficult. Like I said, it's just all about practice. Getting used to your airbrush, knowing what it's going to do. Just having a little bit of control over it. All right, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the titanium white. Get a little cup here. You're not going to need but a few drops. This is just one of many ways that you can do these rivets. I've got a Scott McKay Pocket Graphics here that's actually got what they call a rivet master in it. Very nice little set of stencils, really ideal for fishing lures, and I'll do a video on that in time too. Just put a few drops of paint in a cup, or you can just put it on a napkin because you're not going to use that much. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a toothpick, and I'm just going to dot. I'm going to dot my my rivet. Like I said, it's a cool little technique and fun. Kind of get you doing some different things. And it's got a really cool effect. Just want to touch it. I usually lay it down. I usually take it off of this fly tying, but I want you to be able to see it. But this is a really cool little technique to have some fun with. If you sell lures, it'll help you sell some. Like I said, there's really no I touched it there. That's not good. I have these little brushes here. Take it off. Redo this one. I must have touched it with my hand. This one I put a little too much on also. That's the thing about it, and you know, you're gonna make a few mistakes. It's not the end of the world. We just take it off, retouch it up. It's not going to take all your paint off. I'll just redo them. Gives it a real cool look. Let that dry for a minute. I'll hit it with the gun. And then what I'm going to do, I got another stencil from Jeff at Whitmore Farm. It's kind of a metal grate stencil. Kind of gives it a real cool effect. His stencils are really high quality. If you hadn't checked Jeff out, you need to go check them out. They're really nice. This one actually is, like I said, is the stencil's actually called Diamond. It looks like metal grate, and that's what I use it for. And what I do now is after I put my panels in and I've dried it, anywhere that I don't have panels, I will just put a light stencil on of the metal grate, just to give it some, you know, contrast to what I'm doing. And I'll do some dark, some light. Just try to get it where you don't have panels, and it makes it look like it ties right in. Like I said, I do some dark, some light. And we'll set the other side up. And well, the good thing about this is you don't have to use a whole lot of colors. You're using a Autoborn silver, you're using the Auto Airs aluminum, and I use the gold and black, a little bit of white, and then I'll use one color of candy to match whatever eyes I choose. Today I'm gonna choose orange because that's just the eyes that I'm using. It's gonna be a really cool look. Let that dry for a minute. And then we'll just go ahead and do what we did on the front side. I'm gonna take the tape, and we'll lay it over. Pretty much just do the same thing that I did earlier. Just in the same order. Like I said, I put the tape back in order when I did it, so I could try to keep it pretty similar. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly just like the other side. It's not that type of lure. It's just a fun thing to do. A lot of people do this. Gives it a real unique look. On this one, I'll just stretch it over. So like I said, now what we're going to do, we're just going to do the same thing we did on the other side. We're just going to take it and we're going to go in reverse. I'm going to take this, just shadow the tape, just fine, go over it. And like I said, it's just about practice on this. Go up on this because it's right here. Go ahead and do this. But it's really not hard. It's just a matter of just having your little system down, just taking your time, just having some fun with it, just doing something different. Take that off. And like I said, I'm going to save it. I'm going to leave it right here on my booth, and I'm going to use it again. It just, like I said, you can, especially if it's something that you really make or you paint that you really like, then you can replicate it pretty fast because you really haven't done anything with your stencils but just put them back on your booth and hang on to them. It's really not a hard technique. It looks a lot more difficult than what it is. It really does. I remember when I first saw it, I was like, how in the world did they paint that? But like I said, after you do it for a little while and you kind of play with it, it's a really cool technique. It's not hard to do. And just have fun with it and play with it. And it doesn't have to be just like the other side. You can paint it totally different. That's just all how creative you want to be with it. You know, what you want to do with it. You can have a lot of fun with this and do some real crazy colors and really make this thing jump. I like doing the one panel over the eye. I think that gives it a cool effect. And I think when you see my eyes on it afterwards, you'll kind of like that. That's one of my favorite parts of it. Like I said, just be careful taking it off. And then you're gonna just do the same thing. You probably want to let it dry a little more than I have. I've kind of moved along with this. You'll probably want to just take your time a little bit more and let it dry. Like I said, it's not hard. You just got to get some control over your airbrush. Just have a little bit of fun, patience with it. Don't get frustrated. Just take your time and just have some fun with it. And there's a lot of different things you can do with it. You can make it look distressed and just have a little bit of fun. I'll let that dry. I'll go ahead and do a little bit of this and then we'll do the rivets. We'll let those dry. But like I said, this stencil from Whitmore Farms just kind of really gives it the extra detail it just needs. Well, you're not leaving any of the bait untouched. Even this little section in the middle, the contrast on it's just crazy how good it looks after you do it. And then, like I said, when you get done and you shoot your candy over top of it, it's really going to make that auto-borne sealer silver pop. That's one of the coolest things about doing this bait that I like. And we'll do our little rivets. And like I said, there's a lot of ways to do rivets and have fun and just try different things. And that's what you got to do. You just got to experiment, have some fun. Don't be scared to try something. Because like I said, a lot of times it's not as hard as you think it is. That's why I'm kind of hoping doing these videos going to encourage some people to kind of step out a little bit and try some things that they may not would have tried because they may have thought that it was too hard. And that's the good thing about our lure group too. The guys are really good. They're really helpful. They always help the people that are just starting out, because I got to remember, we just started out one time. I had plenty of people help me when I first started painting. And you got to be willing to do that, because like I said, this is a hobby, and it's a fun one, and you want the other person to have fun too. You don't want them to be frustrated because they may not know some of the things that, that we have learned over the years in painting that would help them kind of get past some of that. And I think we all need to do that. I might have to touch one of these up. I can find my little thing here. Put a little too much paint on this. Didn't want to do that. Good thing about the silver is you're not going to mess it up. Then I'll just take it Hit it with a little black. Okay, got a few I need to do right there. Just don't be scared to try something new. We're gonna let that dry. I'm gonna put one more right there. Okay, let that dry. I'm gonna redo one more. Okay, we'll let that dry. And I'm gonna mix up some orange candy. And when I do that, like I said, I use my UVLS clear. That's my carrier. What you're supposed to mix with your candy. We'll mix this up and let it sit for a minute. I usually pre-mix this, but like I said, I figured I'd start doing some of this stuff in real time so that you could look at it. And this is Candy 2.0 Grabber Orange. I really love this color, especially on this silver. And I'll mix it about 2-to-1 UVLS. I mean, you really want to mix it 1-to-1, but all I'm trying to do is get it super, I mean, it's already transparent, but it'll make it even more transparent. And like I said, when you use this, you really want to mix it and let it sit for a minute so it can bind together. For video purposes, I'll just let it sit for a second. I'm gonna clean my airbrush out. Like I said, with a little bit of practice, just having fun with it, you can do this relatively fast. You don't, like I said, just on this bait, I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Use 5 pieces of tape per side, and it's not a hard thing to do. Just play with different patterns, learn to overlay it. Try it. I mean, I can do it with Quicksilver Chrome also, but I'll be honest with you, I've done it both ways, and I really like the aluminum, the look it gives it. It gives it a really, really shiny look. So we'll go ahead and pour some Candy 2.0 in the brush. Knock this temp down, pressure down just a little bit. It's too much. And then I'm gonna do the same thing that I did in a previous video with the crawl, the tape crawl that I had. All I'm gonna do, I don't wanna run the candy in the middle. I'm just gonna run it on the outsides where I have the black. Let it touch the rivets just a little bit. It kind of looks like rust. Let a little bit of it hit that Grate stencil. Give that some color. I'll hit a little bit on it, not a lot, just to give it some contrast. Like I said, this Grabber Orange really has a crazy look on this aluminum, it just gives it a really cool look. Doesn't take a lot of candy. Like I said, I'm gonna hit the eyes with it. All you're doing is just going around it, you know, and letting the overspray kind of just a little bit into the middle. Gives it a really neat look. We're gonna let that dry. We're gonna put the eyes on it. Then I'm gonna shoot a coat of UVLS over this. And that'll kind of bring the colors out. It really comes to life when you put the eyes in it. As soon as this dries, we'll do that. I'm actually going to use some 12mm solid eyes from Carrie White at Backwater Outfitters. It is a very cool eye. It's a solid eye, but it gives the lure a really wicked look. Here's what they look like. They're a really neat looking eye. And like I said, I modified these eyes with a Forstner bit. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Because this Spro bait had a real tiny eye, and this design looks better. It kind of dug into the lure a little bit. But like I said, once I put the eye in and I epoxy it, it's not going to take any water in. We'll go ahead and dry this a little bit with air so we can get this going. I'm going to go ahead and mix some UVLS, because when you shoot it at the end, after you've completed it, it'll lock all those colors in. Don't need a lot, but you want to make sure, if you've watched one of my previous videos, I do mix it with 4011. It is a whole lot thicker than 4030, and I reduce it even shooting it through my PS290, which is a 5mm needle. I still do it. And then I'll let this sit for a minute. And we'll go ahead and get these eyes. And this is going to make the bait come to life. These are and I don't even have to glue these. These are self-adhesive. And it really gives it a crazy look. Kind of fun little project to do. Like I said, I just saw the Forstner bit actually on a Marling Baits video where he just did his wooden baits with it. And I said, well, I wonder what would happen if I bought one and tried it on these plastic blanks. And like I said, I've just started doing it, so I'm still kind of in the learning stages of it. I've messed up a few baits, and I want to give a shout out too to lurebill.com, Jimmy. I buy stuff from Jimmy. Jimmy is a great guy too, awesome painter. But his service at Lurebill, he's got a great variety. He's quick to get you the blanks. And I like dealing with him. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. So I'm going to take my bigger gun, bring it back over here. I am going to take this tape off. You don't want to spray, you don't want this tape on your bait. I'm having some trouble with my little stand here. I'm going to take the tape off of this and spray the bill with it also. That's what it kind of looks like with the eyes and before you've actually clear coated it. It's a really neat bait. The candy really makes it look really cool. And I'm gonna spray this on a little higher pressure, probably around 40. And what you want to do with this UVLS is you want to make sure this is good and wet on this lure. It'll have a bluish haze to it. Take about 15 minutes to dry, and then you can clear coat it. I'm not going to clear coat it on there tonight. I'm going to save that for another video. I mean, I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun. These Armor baits are really fun to paint. This is one that's actually got true coat on it. You see the finish that it's got. It actually has a very, very shiny finish. It is a very cool bait. Like I said, if I didn't answer some of your questions and you got them, throw them in the comments. And as always, I'm out of here. See you next time.